Hey guys, it's Chelsa Messenger with Picks and Parlays. We're talking NBA action headed to the Jazz and the Pelicans. It may be cold outside, but our promo code is HOT for 20% off the entire site at picksandparlays.net, where the Jazz are favored -6.5. The total is 217.5, and a little bit of deja vu because these two just played with the Jazz winning the last game 118 to 102 as 6.5 point favorites with the over hitting. The line was exactly the same. You might have gotten the Jazz -6 in some places, but same line, same game, it seems like, but not a back-to-back. They did have a day of rest in between. We've got Craig Trapp joining us to break this one all down. Craig, what stands out to you about the second meeting between these two teams?
I was shocked that the line wasn't bigger because it's not like the Jazz just barely eked by on covering or anything. I mean, it was pretty one-sided game, and sometimes when you think it's too easy, it usually is, and maybe the other side's a play. But I kind of think this line will get bet up. I mean, we see it at 6.5. I would expect this one's going to go off at 7.5 or 8. I still like the Jazz. The Jazz, since they had that slow start, I think it was like a 1-2 start. I mean, they're 10-4 in the year. They've been absolutely mowing teams down, including wins at Milwaukee, which not many people win at Milwaukee this year. That was the one loss Milwaukee had at home. I mean, they won at Denver just, I think, middle of last week. This team's just been real. Actually, I think that was Sunday. But it's just been a really, really good Jazz team. Donovan Mitchell, he had that great bubble. He's been just as good this year. And that great defense of the Jazz and Rudy Gobert has really been too much for most teams. And I think that's the size of the Jazz. I think it's going to be a problem again for the Pelicans. So I'm going to take the Jazz minus the 6.5, even though I do expect it to probably go up at least a point. I'll still take them at that number because I just think the Jazz are a more well-rounded team. And the Pelicans still, Van Gundy, I did not like to hire when they hired him, but he hasn't done anything to me. I mean, they're 5-8. He hasn't done anything to convince me that New Orleans is all of a sudden going to become a playoff team with him as the coach.
Yeah, this was a Pelicans team that I thought could maybe keep it close with the Jazz first time out, but they were way overmatched offensively, and especially from three. The Jazz have been really good from the three-point line in the last at least 23 pointers in three of their last four games. Meanwhile, the Pelicans hit just 6 threes last game. So I think the offensive firepower is a little lacking when it comes to the Pelicans. Yeah, they have a lot of young, exciting players, and Zion even had 32 points last game, but it wasn't enough. They still got blown out by a lot, and especially down low, Rudy Gobert was absolutely dominant. 18 rebounds, and you mentioned the defense of the Jazz, one of the better defensive teams in the league, and one of the better rebounding teams all around. Pelicans a good rebounding team too, but it just seems like Rudy Gobert was there just snatching up all the rebounds and blocking Zion's shots. So I think this is a bad matchup for the Pelicans, and it's hard to pick against the Jazz. Do you have any leadings on a total?
Well, I do think this one probably goes over because I think the Pelicans have to get easier baskets by getting out in transition. They just don't have, they're not, like you said, they're not a great 3-point shooting team. So you can't rely on the half court sets for them. They got to get some easier baskets. I think that pushes this over. Utah's a pretty high scoring team considering how good they are on the defensive end. They're a pretty high scoring team. And I think this one will probably go over as well. But much safer play, I think, take the Jazz again, as the Jazz, like you said, I think are just a little bit of a matchup nightmare for the Pelicans.
Is there anything different that you would handicap when you have a team playing the same team back to back?
Well, we don't see this often. Only this season are we
Right.
really seeing this. I mean, very rarely do you ever get this in the NBA, any other format. So far, we've seen not a ton of trends. Sometimes you'll get those trends where it's like the same team wins or the team gets the revenge. We really haven't seen. It's been really pretty even on the rematches. So I haven't seen anything so far that we can draw conclusions for as a handicapper. So to me, I think you just have to handicap that. Like, yeah, this game was played last week because that's the way the format has kind of played out when we've seen these. They're back-to-back games, but they're usually a day in between.
Right. I think that's the difference because I know in the NBA, back to backs are definitely
Yeah,
something that you look
brutal.
at, especially with teams getting tired, things like that. But a little bit different when you have a day of rest in between. But that's going to do it for our NBA talk here on Picks and Parlays. Great stuff from Craig Trapp. As always, Craig, thanks for joining us.